country on a specific date. And what I did was, this is just the national capital region, and it went on for another page, but I didn't have room for that. It talks about, you know, Code Pink, and there was something going on in Baltimore this day, though, fast. But it's Washington Peace Center was down on this page. But anyway, groups that we work with. The interesting thing was it also tags a couple of protests by the Falun Gong, that Chinese group, which interesting. Anyway, okay, and then Department of Homeland Security. They've got these nice assessments that they do that have the nice covers. They did one on left-wing extremists, and then one on right-wing extremists that this was shortly after Obama was elected, and that literally blew up. The right wing was incensed. They talk about, in this report, they talk about returning vets who might be radicalized and who are trained for combat, and so watch out for them. And then this other one is a Pennsylvania Department of Homeland Security report that specifically talks about the Ruckus Society, and that they're doing a training because there's some oil pipeline was going through Pennsylvania at the time. And then further down, they note that in Iraq, some people were trying to blow up a pipeline. And we have pipelines here in Pennsylvania, so therefore, Al-Qaeda is coming to Pennsylvania. But the FBI is really who loves us the most. And so I just put a couple of things up here to remind, to try to focus me so I don't go all over the place, because there's so many things we can talk about with the FBI. The FBI did for a while, the Department of Justice for a while had a really good Inspector General who resigned a few years ago, Glenn Fine, and he put together some really good reports about FBI abuses, of the way that they were abusing national security letters. And a couple of years ago, they did a report on the FBI's investigation of domestic advocacy groups. And in this report, you can see they focused on the Thomas Merton Center, which maybe some of you worked with out in Pittsburgh. They are very concerned, which is a Catholic peace group. Then they also are concerned about the Catholic worker. It's interesting because the FBI has a lot of Catholic agents too, but anyway, they seem to focus a lot on Catholic groups and guns and stuff. Greenpeace is also in this report. And basically they were told, FBI agents are told, go out and find terrorists. You're sitting in Pittsburgh, there's no terrorists in Pittsburgh at the time, so we're just gonna go and monitor what the local peace group is doing. They're having a march, they're flyering, whatever, I'm gonna just go watch them. It's all, you know, they have all this money, they now have all these additional agents, and they've got this mandate to go out and find terrorism before it happens. And because they're in the mindset that, you know, it's their institutional mindset that activists are, you know, half a step away from becoming terrorists, without any evidence of this, they tend to infiltrate activist groups. The garbage can is on there because before the Republican convention in Minneapolis in 2008, the FBI and the local sheriff of Ramsey County, Minnesota, was going around the country following the RNC Welcoming Committee was going around doing meetings, and they would pretty much seem to target all the groups that these organizers went out to talk to. And they were really did a lot of work in Iowa. The Iowa Peace group out there was under FBI surveillance for quite a while, and maybe it's just that somehow the FOIA let the documents through, so we know more about this particular spy. But we also found out that they were going through the garbage of the members of the group, and so and then the other things, there's which Saqib touched on, was the use of informants in mosques, and we also know that they're using informants in peace groups. They sent informants into Occupy, and did people hear about the story of the Cleveland kids who were convicted of trying to blow up a bridge? People hear about this? Okay, in Cleveland, there was a group of 5 young guys who ended up in Occupy Cleveland. One was a drug addict, one was schizophrenic, one had recently tried to commit suicide. They were mostly homeless. They were really bedraggled kids, but they ended up at Occupy Cleveland, and from all reports, they were really enthusiastic. It was for most of them, it was giving their life some meaning. These were kids who were just wanderers and had finally found something that inspired them. So they were intensely into Occupy, and within a couple of weeks, the Cleveland police decided they were going to shut down Occupy Cleveland, shut down the encampment, and so there's a big protest, and these 5 guys are at the protest, and they have anarchist tendencies, and they wanted to do more. They were young, they were angry at the older peace activists who were like, no, we're going to do a sit-in, and then we'll let the encampment fold down. And they're running through the crowd saying, no, we should be doing something more. They don't do anything, but they meet this guy named Saqib, who's like, yeah, man, we should be doing more. This guy's 6 feet tall, he's older than them, and he's validating what that they want to be doing more. And so this guy Saqib develops a bond with them. These kids don't have money. He gives them a job. He gives them beer. He gives them drugs. And he's talking to them, what are we going to do? We got to do more. We got to do more. The encampment's closed down. There's this one lone tent through the winter of Cleveland that they're trying to keep staffed in order to keep Occupy Cleveland going. And this guy, Shakil's talking to them. He takes them out to lunch, like, yeah, let's do more. And they're coming up with ideas like, let's pull the bank sign off of the building, or let's set off smoke bombs, and they're coming up with really strange ideas. And Shakil's like, that's good, what about bombs? What about bombs? And they're like, we don't have money for bombs. What do we know from bombs? And one kid is going to download the anarchist cookbook from the web and find out how to make bombs. Weeks go by, he doesn't do that. Shakil's like, what's going on? Come on, man. And then Saqib magically seems to have an arms dealer friend. So he takes them over to the arms dealer friend, and the boys want to buy gas masks and smoke bombs and do something big for May Day, because there's going to be a big May Day protest. And the arms dealer is going to give them gas masks and smoke bombs. And then Shakil's like, oh, what about this C4, which is plastic explosives? And they're like, oh no, we can't afford that. So they make the deal, they're going to get the gas masks. They need to go back and get money. They're going to meet with the arms dealer again in a week. They go back, the price of the C4 is lowered. And not only is it lowered, I don't need all the money right away. You guys take the material, the explosive material, give me a couple $100 down, you can pay me the rest later. You can work it off, you can come work for me later. Very, very socialist arms dealer. And so they get the C4, and Shakil's like, yeah, so where are we going to plant it? They drive around, they decide on a bridge. The boys had originally said, well, it's got to be some political target where people know that it's, that we're against the 1%. And I don't know how they ended up on the bridge. But they decide to do it on the bridge, and so the day before the May Day protests that was going to kind of revitalize Occupy Cleveland, they do go ahead and plant the explosives on the bridge. They go to a nearby Applebee's, they've got the cell phone, they're trying to make the bridge blow up. Lo and behold, it's all a manufactured crime. Saqib was an FBI agent, the arms dealer was an FBI agent, the C4 was fake, and the kids are all in jail. And obviously, and they were, since since they were connected to Occupy, the May Day protest was called off in deference to these terrorists in their midst. And it really, that one plot was able to absolutely crush Occupy Cleveland. It's gone. It's gone now. And the thing is that, you know, the boys were stupid, and I don't excuse at all what they would do, but is that the FBI's role, to take lost people and turn them into terrorists? You know, if Saqib had not been there, they would have continued with graffiti and smoke bombs. In fact, the judge, they all, one guy turned state's witness and pleaded guilty for a reduced sentence in order to testify against the others, and so then eventually the others all pled guilty, and the judge in the case gave them very lower sentences. Sorry, that's not very good sentence construction. Much lower sentences than the prosecution asked for. The prosecution wanted to put them away for 20 to 30 years, and they all got sentences less than 13 years because the judge said it was so clear that the FBI agent had manipulated them. I'm talking for too long?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not too long. It's all very interesting, but why don't we maybe use that to segue into the...
Yes, I shall.
Actually, I was thinking that...
So then just the other thing is that we need to watch out for is the misuse of grand juries targeting activists. And these things are real. They have affected our region in that the Maryland State Police have, that we know of, in that we discovered these files that the Maryland State Police had. We know that FBI agents are trolling, informants are trolling through mosques. And so it's likely, it's possible that something will happen here. And what we need is to be prepared for that. That we know that members of our community are targeted, and we need to be prepared to step up in solidarity and in defense of them. So what the Montgomery County Civil Rights Coalition wants to do is create a rapid response network, which is sort of on the idea of a pledge of resistance, except that we're not pledging a specific form of resistance against a specific outrage, I guess. We don't know what might happen or what shoe might drop, but we want to have a network that's ready to respond if a member of our community is targeted. And so we're working to build that. We hope that some of you here are interested in the idea and can help us develop it and help us build it so that we are prepared to stand up in solidarity with what might happen.
Yeah, this kind of comes full circle from where we started, right? Where we responded to the fact that people were being hauled out, in front of grand juries, and we all came to the ready and met each other, just sort of by happenstance. Really, it was like the zeitgeist, and so we want to not have it be reliant on whether people just happen to talk to each other. We're all in the same room now, so.
Right, so we want to prepare and we want to do outreach beforehand. And really kind of the model is the grand jury in the Midwest, they were able to do this grand jury resistance, and because they were all really good organizers and really quickly got a whole bunch of people to make statements in support of them. And so we just want to lay the groundwork for that should something happen.
So we're going to get everybody's name. I think there's some sheets, and even though we may already know you, if you could give us your information again, and we'll put you on that list. We'll